"Don't say a word, not yet," she whispered, gripping his hand tighter. "If he discovers who I am before I'm ready, we won't live to see tomorrow." Somewhere else in the palace, a man sealed a decree with a smile, one that would erase an entire people. And the king trusted him completely. What no one knew was that the woman closest to the throne was the very target of that destruction. But the most dangerous part wasn't the decree. It was the silence before the truth. If you enjoy stories like this, you're in the right place. Welcome to Bible Story Universe, where every story pulls you in a little deeper. If you'd like to support the channel, you can subscribe. It helps more than you think. Now, this story doesn't begin with a queen. It begins with a girl no one noticed. Long before the palace, before the crown, she was just Esther, an orphan, raised quietly by her cousin, Mordecai. He taught her how to survive without drawing attention. How to listen more than she spoke. How to stay hidden. And that lesson would later save her life. But she didn't know that yet. All she knew was that one day, soldiers arrived. Not to destroy, but to choose. The king had removed his queen after she defied him, and now the empire searched for a replacement. Young women were gathered from every province, taken into the palace, prepared for a single night that would decide their future. Esther didn't fight it. She didn't resist. She simply went. And somehow, she stood out without trying. There was something about her. A quiet presence. A calm that drew favor. The guards noticed. The servants noticed. And eventually, the king noticed. Out of all the women brought before him, he chose her. Just like that, the orphan became queen. But one thing never changed. Her silence. Mordecai had warned her, never reveal where she came from. Never tell anyone she was Jewish. And she obeyed. Because sometimes, what you don't say can be more powerful than what you do. But silence has a cost. While Esther adjusted to life in the palace, Mordecai remained outside the gates, watching, waiting, protecting her in the only way he could. And one day, he overheard something he was never meant to hear. A plot. Two men. A quiet conversation. A plan to kill the king. Mordecai didn't hesitate. He sent word through Esther, and the message reached the king in time. The plot was stopped. The traitors were executed. The king's life was saved. And Mordecai? He was forgotten. No reward. No recognition. Nothing. It seemed like a small moment. But it wasn't. Because that forgotten act would come back at the exact moment it was needed most. Not long after, a man rose to power. Haman. He wasn't just influential, he was feared. The king elevated him above all others, and everywhere he went, people bowed. All except one. Mordecai. He refused. Not out of pride, but conviction. And that single act of defiance lit a fire Haman couldn't control. But he didn't just want Mordecai dead. That wouldn't be enough. He wanted every Jew in the empire destroyed. So he devised a plan, careful, calculated, deadly. He approached the king with half-truths and manipulation, painting a picture of a rebellious people who threatened the kingdom's stability. The king listened. And then, he agreed. With a single command, a decree was issued. On a chosen day, all Jews, young and old, men and women, would be killed. The message spread quickly. Fear followed. Mordecai heard it. And this time, he couldn't stay silent. He sent a message to Esther. Not as a cousin. Not even as family. But as the only person who could stop what was coming. Esther read the message, and froze. Because for the first time, her silence wasn't protection. It was a threat. If she said nothing, her people would die. If she spoke, she might die with them. Approaching the king without being summoned was forbidden. One wrong move, one wrong moment, and she would be executed instantly. No second chances. No explanations. Just death. She hesitated. And that hesitation could have changed everything. Then Mordecai sent one final message. Do not think that because you are in the palace, you will escape. The words hit harder than fear. Because deep down, she knew it was true. Silence would not save her. It never had. And in that moment, Esther made a decision. Not out of confidence. Not out of certainty. But out of courage. She sent back a message. Gather everyone. Fast for me. For 3 days. No food. No water. Only hope. Because what she was about to do had no guarantee of success. 3 days passed slowly. Every hour heavier than the last. And then, the moment came. She stood outside the king's court. Uninvited. Unprotected. One step away from death. The doors opened. Eyes turned. The room went still. If the king didn't extend his scepter, it was over. Everything ended there. But then. He moved. Slowly, deliberately, he lifted the scepter. She was spared. Relief didn't come. Not yet. Because she still hadn't said the truth. Instead, she invited the king, and Haman, to a banquet. That night, the king asked her what she wanted. She didn't answer. Not yet. She invited them again. Another banquet. Another delay. And the question lingered. Why wait? What was she planning? That night, something unexpected happened. The king couldn't sleep. And in his restlessness, he ordered the royal records to be read aloud. Out of all the events in the empire, one name surfaced. Mordecai. The man who saved his life. The king paused. What was done for him? Nothing. For the first time, the king realized something had been overlooked. And at that exact moment, Haman walked in. The same man planning Mordecai's death. What happened next would change everything. But no one, not even Esther, could have predicted how fast the story was about to turn. If this moment shocked you, wait till you see what happens when truth finally meets power. Because the next word spoken would decide who lives. And who doesn't. And you won't believe who speaks first. If you've made it this far, drop a comment. What would you have done in Esther's place? And if you enjoy stories that keep you thinking long after they end, a like and subscribe goes a long way. Because this story isn't over yet.